Hey guys, how's it going? This is Brett with growbrew.com. Today I'm going to show you a little video about our Craft-A-Brew beer kits. We get these from a company called Craft-A-Brew. Awesome 1-gallon brew kits. Come in all different types. This one happens to be the American Pale Ale, but they've got IPAs, they've got milk stouts, they've got all different types of craft beer styles that they offer. So today we're basically just going to brew one of these up and show you what's involved. Okay, so here we are with the brew kit. This is what the box of the American Pale Ale style looks like. Kind of cool packaging, old style font and graphics. Quick instruction guide on the back, and a little history about their company, Craft-A-Brew. And then in the box, you get a great instruction pamphlet. It's got really good illustrations and it's very detailed. You've got a satchel of ingredients. It's everything you need to brew 1 gallon of beer, minus the water. Funnel, airlock, and some clips for your siphon hose, stopper, 1 gallon carboy or jug. You've got your racking cane, small amount of tubing that goes on the end of your racking cane. This is for siphoning after it's all fermented, and a brewing thermometer so you know the temperature of what's going on while it's going on. Some additional things that you're going to need: a pot. I'm just using a basic household stock pot right here. So you just need to be able to fit a gallon of liquid in there plus the grains, which is pretty easy. Alright, let's get this party started. Alright, so once I got the satchel of ingredients open, this is what we've got here. We've got the brewing grains. We've got the grain bag for the grains. We've got the Briess Pilsen Light Dried Malt Extract. This is the DME, and it looks like this is 1.25 pounds. We've got 2 different types of hops with this brew. It comes with a Cascade and a Pearl. This is your aroma hop. This is your bittering hop. It comes with a 1-step no-rinse sanitizer and the fresh yeast. And then once again, here's the instruction guide. So what we're going to do now is add a gallon of water to this pot and bring it up to about 155 to soak our grains. Okay, so while we wait for the water to heat up to 155, we're going to add the brewing grains to the grain bag. Normally you do this over the sink to avoid a mess, but I'm going to do them right here because I have some dishes in my sink. Just open the bag, make sure the bottom is sealed, and it is. Kind of cinch the bag around the grain bag, and you can pour the grains right into it. Once they're all in there, try not to compress them too much. If you want to, you can put a small knot in this bag. One important thing to note is when you pull these out of the water after steeping them for 15 minutes, don't squeeze them. You want the tannins to stay in the grains. Basically, you don't want to squeeze it back into your wort. So this is the 4th quart of water that we're adding to the pot, making it 1 gallon. And you don't need to use distilled water or anything like that. You could actually use tap water if you want to. I run mine through one of these filters just to take any of the heavy metals or anything that could be in the tap water out of it to improve the taste of the beer, the final product. So this is the 4th quart. We're going to heat this up to 155 and steep our grains in the grain bag for 15 minutes. Just make sure they're saturated in sink. You don't want this bag opening up and spilling grains all over the place. Keep it off the bottom to prevent it from scorching. And now we're going to set a timer for 15 minutes. Alright guys, we're getting down to the last few seconds of our mash here. There we go. That's been 15 minutes at 155. And it is looking pretty good. Got that nice golden color. Smells great. Smells what I think like breakfast time in Ireland would smell like. I don't know if that's correct, but it could be. So what we're going to do now is pull the bag of grains out. We're not going to squeeze them. We're just going to put them right in the sink. And we're going to bring the wort up to a boil, in which case we'll shut this off and add the DME right there. So here we go. Remember not to squeeze the bag. That'll just release some unwanted tannins back into your beer. So we'll just let it drain out, kind of get the liquid back in the pot. There we go. Discard the grains. And bring your mash up to a boil. As soon as you see the first bubble start to boil, we're going to want to shut this off, get it off the flame, and add the bag of DME slowly so that we don't clump it up, and we're going to fully dissolve this into the pot. Okay, so we've been bringing our wort up to a boil here for, I don't know, about 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes, and see a couple bubbles coming to the top. So what we're going to do now is take the pot off the flame, move it over to here, and we're going to add the 1 1/4 pounds of dried malt extract to the pot, and make sure it's nicely dissolved in there. I've dumped the DME into a little container for like easier handling, because if this stuff gets all over the place, it's ridiculously sticky. So it's nice to just keep it contained and not let it fly all over your kit. Okay, here we go. We've got the wort off of the flame. And I like to use a whisk when I'm adding this stuff, and then later I'll stir it with a stainless steel spoon, but the whisk kind of helps to prevent clumping. So I'm going to get it going and slowly add the DME, about as slow as you can go here. Stir really well. The slower the better, to avoid foam over. Like I said, this stuff's really sticky, so it's basically pure sugar. If it gets all over the place, you'll see what I mean. Everybody does it. But take it from me, if you can control it from the beginning, it's a lot easier. Probably important to note again that I'm doing this off the flame, and I make sure that I have it all fully dissolved before I put it back on for the boil. Prevents scorching and burning the sugars that are in the malt extract. As we get down to the end here, don't get lazy. Still really important to make sure that this is all dissolved. And get it all out of here. You can see how sticky it gets once it hits moisture. It just kind of solidifies. Alright, so I'm going to keep stirring this in for a while and make sure that it's fully dissolved. And then I'm going to put it back on a medium-high heat. And we're going to carefully monitor the boil after that, because this stuff can boil over pretty quick. And as I said before, make quite a mess. Okay, now we're going to move the kettle back over to flame, and we are going to put it on a medium-high heat right there, if you can see that. Okay, so at this point the mash is made, and we are bringing it up to a boil. As soon as it reaches kind of like a rolling boil point, we're going to add the hops. The first hops to be added are the bittering hops. These things are added at the 0 point, so as soon as you start your 60-minute boil, you add the bittering hops. Then basically once there's 2 or so minutes left in the boil, you're going to add the aroma hops. But the bittering hops go in the whole time. Okay, so we've got the mash on the boil, and while it's coming up to a boil, oh, camera's falling. There's a couple quick things that we could do. Gotcha, bitch. There's a couple quick things we can do while this mash is coming to a boil. Basically, the sanitizer that Craft-A-Brew sends, the one-step no-rinse sanitizer here. This packet right here makes about 2 gallons of sanitized water. So we're going to do about a quarter packet in 2 quarts of water. And we're going to sanitize the carboy, the funnel, the transfer tube, which I'll show you a little trick with that later, and the stopper with a quarter of this packet right here. So here we go. Get your packet ready. Get your water on warm and add 2 quarts. While that's adding to the pot, you can add a quarter of this packet right here. Like that. Helps you mix it up. Don't have to go through the pain of mixing it up. Now that you've mixed your liquid, you can add a little bit of it to your carboy. And you can put your funnel, the racking tubing, which I'll show you about that later, a little trick for you, and the stopper right in the solution. And just let that sit until your boil's done and you start to transfer everything over to your carboy. Good way to get this going is just cap the front, shake it up. It's a contact sanitizer. Hear that? Pressure. So, contact for 60 seconds and it's all good for your beer. Okay, so we've got a nice boil over here. See, it's all dissolved, nothing's scorching. Probably turn it down, slow the boil down a little bit, but what we're going to do is start our 60 seconds and add our pearl bittering hops. So here we go. It's pre-boil, no worries. It's not going to contaminate there. Oh, those smell amazing. So add the hops, and this starts your 60-minute boil. Start the timer. 60 minutes. Give it a nice little stir. Make sure their pellets are evenly broke down and evenly dispersed. Wow, that smells amazing. Closer look for you guys. There you go. See the hop sheen there on top. So that's going to sit for the whole 60 minutes. And then when we have 2 minutes left in the boil, we're going to add these Cascade aroma hops. Alright, so we're waiting for the 60-minute boil right now. Actually, we're waiting for 58 minutes, at which point we put the Cascade aroma hops in. But a little trick, something we can do in the meantime, having to do with this yeast, is we can hydrate and kind of, I guess, rehydrate the yeast. So what we're going to do is steal a little bit of that boiled mash and pour it off into here, dump this yeast in it, and give it about 60 minutes to rehydrate itself, and it's just going to jump start your fermentation and help make your beer a lot cleaner and taste better. So here we go. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to steal a little bit of this boiling mash, basically sugar water, start ourselves a little yeast starter. Give that yeast about an hour head start. That should be good right there. So what is this? About a half a cup of mash. And we're going to let that cool to a pitching temperature so we don't kill our yeast. About, I don't know, 70, 75 degrees. Okay, so now we've got the wort in our Pyrex little cup thing here, and the temperature, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's about 115, going down, about 110 degrees. So to cool this down quicker to around the 75, 70, 75 that we want, I'm just going to throw it in this little ice bath here. And that, stir it up and see it drop pretty quick. So there we go. Now we just wait for the temp to drop. Okay. Okay, so this wort has dropped down to about 72. I'm going to pull it out right there and stop the cooling, saving this ice for when I have to cool the wort in my kettle. And now we'll pitch some yeast in there. Okay, so what we're going to do is empty this packet of yeast into the cooled wort. I'll mention again that this wort's been boiled, so it's sanitary, and you can add this rehydrated yeast concoction straight to your final product that goes into your carboy. So what we're going to do here is just add this, and it's going to give the yeast, if you're going to stir with anything, make sure you sanitize it. Dip it in your sanitizer just like that. It's going to give the yeast time to rehydrate, and they'll actually start to repopulate right here in this wort. So let's say, I don't know, 500,000 to, or 500 million to, I don't know, maybe 1 billion yeast cells come out of a packet like this. I don't know how old the packet is, so probably in the 60 minutes or so that they'll be rehydrating, I bet it grows by, I don't know, 10%. So you're getting free yeast out of this, and it's gonna just give them a huge jump start into fermenting your beer. All right, let's go check on our beer. Okay, so we are about 20 minutes into the boil, and as you can see, over here, part of my stove, it's got that super annoying click, but it's a pretty nice stove. I'm not that mad at it. So over here you can see everything's boiling up real nice. We've got some equipment loss, so I try to boil with the cap to minimize losing as much of this as possible. But what we can do at the end is just top it off with some water and get our gallon back. So it's coming along nicely. We've got 40 more minutes, basically 38 minutes until we add our aroma hops. And then after that, we're gonna add this whole pot to an ice bath and cool the whole thing down to that 75-degree pitching temperature that we just learned about while we were making that starter. Okay, so at the moment, disregard my barking dog back there. At the moment, we've got about 16 minutes, 15 minutes left in the boil before you have to add the final hop addition. These Cascade aroma hops go in with 2 minutes left. So right now, as you can see, I've already got the 1 gallon carboy prepped. It's got the sanitizer in the bottom, so I'll just give that a nice shake 60 seconds before I put the wort in the carboy. And then I've got my instructions in case I need to refer to them for anything. I've got some leftover parts that we're not going to be using at this moment, so basically put these back in the box. Also, a quick note, the sanitizer, it tells you to use half at a time and save the remaining half for bottling. So I'm gonna basically close this up with a rubber band and put it back in the box for when it's time to bottle this stuff in about 2 weeks. Then we've got the yeast over here, and it's rehydrating. You can actually see it starting to bubble a little bit down there. I don't know if you can see through the GoPro or not. I've got the mandatory alcoholic beverage. Not very proud of the white wine, but it's what the fiance had in the fridge, so it's what I got. Then I've got my tools sitting in sanitizer. And last but not least, I've got an ice bath fully prepped. So what we're gonna do is take the pot, once the boil's over, and put it right in that ice bath, because we wanna cool it down as much as possible, as quickly as possible. This is gonna help prevent any off flavors in your beer, and it's gonna really jumpstart the yeast right into fermentation and digesting the sugars and converting them into alcohol. So as you can see, there's a lot of things you can do during the boil to kind of prep to make this a smooth process and keep things clean, which is the name of the game. So we'll check back with you when it's time to add the hops. Here's a fun little trick. We used to add salt to the cooler in high school. Get your beer nice and cold. Well, same principle here. We want this as cold as possible to chill as quick as possible. I'm putting about a 1/4 cup of salt on the ice right there. So check it out. Once the boil is done, I'm going to add the entire pot to the sink. So we've got about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in our boil. So what we're going to do is get the aroma hops ready. Those get added in for the last 2 minutes. See that? The Cascade aroma hops. These things are amazing. Pretty popular in most of your IPAs and a lot of your pales. So we're at the 2 minute point. So we're just going to go ahead and dump that whole pouch in. Just like that. Torn the top, dumped it in. Stir it up. Make sure that it's boiling for these last 2 minutes. And as soon as the timer's up, we're gonna take this over to the sink, where we're gonna strain it with the sanitized strainer right into this stainless steel pot, just to cool it prior to pitching the yeast and transferring it into the carboy. Okay, so now that our 60-minute boil is over, we're gonna add the boiled wort through this strainer to try to get all the hops out of there. We don't want the hops just sitting in with the wort on this pail. Maybe if it was an IPA, but not with the pail. So just strain that through. Nicely strained hops. Here's what we've got. We've got our wort sitting in an ice bath, cooling off. So I'm going to circulate some water around the outside of this and see if we can't get it to cool down nice and quickly so we can get it into our jug. So the target here is 75 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a nice, safe pitching temperature for the yeast on this. There we go. Now we've got the wort sitting in its nice little ice bath here, cooling off. Sanitize thermometer, throw that in there. And that way we will be able to monitor. Okay guys, so ignore my dog. He's whining because he can't have any beer. Quick thing worth noting is that the faster you cool this down, the better your beer is going to taste. So, like I mentioned before, I've got the ice bath, tons of ice, tons of salt, tons of water. It's really cold. And it's actually bringing it down pretty quickly. It's only been, I don't know, it's been under 10 minutes, and we've already come down from boiling to about 82. So 7 more degrees down to about 75, and we're going to be styling. Then we can transfer this over to our carboy, pitch the yeast, and put the stopper in it. And then I'll teach you guys a nifty little trick with the airlock. We're going to make a little blow off instead of an airlock because we started the yeast and you know, got them nice and raging. So we don't want any of this stuff to blow our airlock. So stay tuned. Okay, so we've got our wort cooled down to, see if you can see that. It's about, I think it's reading a little low, but it's about, there we go, just under 75. So that's right where we want it to be. So we'll go ahead and pop the thermometer back in the sanitizer. We've got sanitizer in the bottom of this carboy, so we're going to shake that. It's already been shaken a couple of times, so we know it's coated and well sanitized. Let it sit for a few seconds. At this point, we're going to rinse the sanitizer out of the funnel right here. This is a non-rinse solution, so you don't need to rinse it. You just dump it out, and it's good to go. So now we're going to dump the sanitizer out of the carboy. There we go. Place the funnel on the top and dump the dump your wort slowly into the carboy. This is good too because this aerates the wort. Prior to fermentation, aeration is good. After fermentation, aeration is bad. It'll oxidize your beer and give you off flavors. So right now this is good. You want to mix it up and stir it up and get that going. There we go. And it looks like we're going to be a little bit shy of the 1 gallon mark. Now we've got our pre-boiled, pre-sanitized topper water we're going to top this off with. But right now, we're going to take our yeast that we set up before, and we're going to pitch it directly into the carboy. Just like so. And then we'll take some of our pre-boiled water that we're going to top this off with, and we'll rinse the cup that we were using to hold the yeast. That way we get all of it in there. There we go. So we're going to bring it up to the 1 gallon mark. A little bit more. There we go. We want to give room on the top of the carboy for the yeast to kind of foam up and expand. And what I'll do right now is, because we put so much yeast in there, I'm going to show you how to make a blow off. So we've got our stuff pre-sanitizing right here. We'll pull out our stopper, and this is actually the siphon hose, the siphon tube that they give you to siphon the beer from the jug to your bottles at the end of fermentation. But what we can do, and what I'll show you right here, is squeeze the tip, or we'll call it the top, and put it through the stopper. Get it in there. Try to get it in there as much as you can. It's easy if you use the sanitizing solution to kind of help work it in there. There we go. So now we've got this tube well into our stopper, and what that's going to help us do, sanitize again, there we go, rinse off, and apply stopper to jug, and then from there the only thing left to do is to catch your blow off tube, and that's just in case anything, if the yeast starts to expand and get this all going, this is going to give the foam a place to go, so it's not going to blow out your airlock. So after about, I don't know, 2 to 3 days with the blow off, you can take the tube out and put your airlock in, and you'll be safe. This just prevents any mess, and it's a good little trick.